Fargo Landscape series. So this is the video where we're going to be combining the images from the textures and the Illustrator. So there'll be a combination of two. This is the original. I just dragged it from Illustrator, so I just copied and pasted it, or dragged it from Illustrator into this. So now this is a file. You could save it as a JPEG if you wanted to, or exported it and then opened it, but I've just dragged it or copied it over. So now it is in Photoshop. You might have to rasterize the layer though for this to work. So to do that, you just go to Layer and Rasterize. I have rasterized it already, but then it's ready to kind of select areas of. So then I've also got my textures. I've got a lighter, kind of light texture, which I'm going to be using. Got dark texture, and I've got a mid kind of texture there. So I've got all this varieties. That's the one I mainly used actually, which you will see. You need to, like I've said before in the first video, is to create your objects, to create your textures, and that's what we're going to be kind of copying and pasting. So this is my area that I'm going to be copying from, and then put my texture over the top. I have actually done this previously, but I'm going to show you how to do it. But these are my textures that you can see that I've copied from, and I've put this one at 80%, but I've copied from the different layers that I've got. And that's a spatter one. And then when you put them all together, you can see that it gradually creates the scene. And then I've got the original. There you go. So that is the actual final thing of what it looks like. I can't remember having that sharp. That's why I didn't have that sharp edge. Because what was quite nice is to have that texture at the bottom as well. So it kind of then has that watercolor or that texture effect. You don't want a heavy borderline like that. If I remove it, you've got that heavy line that you don't really want. So you want to make sure that you keep that texture going. So you select one of the textures that you want to carry on going. Right, so you want to know how to actually do this. So let me get rid of everything except the original image. So there's my original from Illustrator. Now I could select, I'm on the wrong layer. I could select my areas that I want to copy over. So I can say select all of this as my texture. Remember, you've got, when you're selecting, you've got the original, which is the default, which will just select the areas, but it will keep on changing. So say I want that man, but I also want the van, I want the police car as well. Oh look, I can't. So you're going to have to go on to add to selection. So I want to keep on adding, or you can subtract from your selection. So say I've added that one and that, but I actually don't want that car anymore. So I want to deselect that selection. So I've minus it, and then I've got this. And then I want to keep on adding. So I want to maybe make that and that. Okay, you get the idea. Let me deselect that though now. Deselect is a shortcut of that. You'll see there. So to reselect. Okay, so now I'm going to want to have this sky as my selection. Remember, you have to be on the original layer for this to happen, otherwise it won't select the bits you want. And say I want this as well. So I want the sky and I want this bottom bit to be the same texture. So now I get rid of seeing that. I don't want to see that anymore, but my selection is still there. And I think you can guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy from my background layer. So I'm going to copy from this layer. This is the lightest one, and I've selected the lightest areas of the picture. So that's really important. You select the tones that you want. So I'm now selecting from that, and all I'm doing is copying. I have to be on the right layer. That's really important. Copy and then paste. And what I'll have is now I'll have that on a different layer. So you can see that is my lighter color that I want. Now, you'll keep on doing this until you're kind of happy with it. So now I want to go back to my original picture, and now I want to choose the darker areas. So the darkest areas to go with my darkest texture. So again, I go to my original, I go to my selection, I'll make sure it's added, so the add one is there, and I'm going to add my selection areas. Now say I don't want, so there's all my darkest areas. Say I don't actually want, say, what area don't I want? I don't want it to merge in with this. So this is where you're going to have to zoom in. And remember with the pen tool, this tool, I can, no, sorry. Go back to this. With this tool, I can actually undo some of my selections. So I'm going to deselect this part. I should be really using my Wacom for this part. So I can zoom in. Again, I want to make it maybe a bit more. So I want to make that shape a little bit more defined. So I'm going to go into that. So all I'm going to do is that texture of that woman is there, or the police officer. I want to clean that up a bit. Can you see I'm deselecting that space? I want to clean up this maybe a little bit more. Okay, I think you get the idea. So I'll just go around. I want to select that, so then I go back to the quick selection tool. That's the difference between the two. And I want to select that area. I want to select that area, that area. Oh, and then I've done selected loads of it. So I'm going to undo that part of the selection I don't want. So I just want the darkest areas for this. I might want to add that bit as well. Okay, so that's fine. I can then zoom out so I can see what I've selected, if there's any problems. Okay, that looks good to me. Might want to actually add that bit of the tire. Okay, cool. Remember, that's selected. Okay, get rid of that, and I get my darkest one up. So I'm going to miss a little bit of that there, which is maybe a bit unfortunate. I could paint that in if I wanted to, if I had a bit more time, because I don't want that to be white. Right, and I'm copying layer 7. So I'm copying that texture layer. So I'm going again to copy and paste, and it goes onto a different layer. So I've got that now selection, all that selected, and I've got these nice textures, can you see here? Which is quite nice. And along with my other layer, which was that one, I think, yeah, it was. I'm now building up my design. So you can see gradually, and then I'd go back and do my mid textures. So I'd go back to the picture and try and think about what's my mid ones. So my mid ones might be here, until you gradually build it up. I think you're getting the idea. You're gradually building up your textures and remembering to choose it from your different layers. Now, what I did after I got a few of my designs, I'll bring up some of my other textures that I've got. Okay, so there's my starting to build up. And then I kept that background layer in. Can you see here what I've done now with the pen tool? Actually, let's get rid of some of these. I've cleaned up some of the area of this one. So before it looked like that. So what you want to do is use a pen tool to clean up some of your lines to make them look a bit nicer. So you'd create a new layer, and then you would paint onto that layer using white or using whatever you want to smooth down, making sure you've got the right brush. What should I use? Let's have a look at that. couldn't see it before. Okay, so now I want to clean up the area, maybe make it a bit thinner, and then just clean up some of those so they're not so kind of computer generated. Looks a little bit more painterly. And the good thing about using a Wacom is that you can kind of do different lightness. I've chosen one of those brushes that I showed you before, and you can get some kind of nice clean. Remember, you can use the picker tool as well if you wanted to clean some of those areas up. And again, picking some areas up, cleaning those. You're just using the brush to make it look maybe a little bit more naturalistic and cleaner. Now you'd spend quite a lot of time trying to clean up some of these spaces. I think the white, because you don't want all of these lumps. I want to make it look more naturalistic. That's why you've got the textures in as well, because you want to make that kind of naturalistic. Remembering to use the picker to get the right colours. I mean, like that doesn't look very nice, right? And this will be your top layer, so it will go over your textures that you've created. I think this is looking a lot nicer because it's a lot cleaner. Remember to choose your right brush, and remember to use a Wacom to get this kind of lighter line. And then you do that. I'm not going to do it for all of it because it will take too long to show you in a video, but that's the kind of thing I've done, and I use it to clean up. I might want to add some slightly more kind of whiter textures within that to make it look a little bit more natural and hand-on. You want them to be quite light. Okay, you do that as much as you want. Okay, and then you can then start getting those lines in. And there's one other thing I've done is added splatters to get that kind of naturalistic look. And all you need to do for that, I think is pretty straightforward, is you get your splatter brush and you just start creating some kind of more textures over, remembering to do it on the layer and remembering to maybe choose the color, and then you can either make the splatter multiply so it goes over the image, or you just make it slightly darker than that tone you've got. Sorry about this. So I've got it a grey, make it slightly darker tone, and then you can just get the kind of changing of colour. And you try different splatters, so don't just go for the one. I mean, that one's not very nice, but you can try different splatters to get that effect that you want. And then I think you just got to tweak it. You've got to keep on working with it until you're kind of happy with your effects. So those are all the textures that I've got on. And you keep on building and building up until you're kind of happy with your final design. And then that's what I look like. I might tweak a little bit more of this. This looks too rigid, and this looks too rigid here. You got to keep on cleaning until you're happy with your design. But that will be it. And hopefully you've worked out how to do all this. Remember to get some nice splatter brushes within there, and don't get a rigid line to it. So make sure you've bled it out. I've done that by getting the brush and getting not a straight line edge. I don't think it looks very nice if it's a straight line. Look, if I get rid of that, that straight line doesn't look nice. So you need to make sure you get a nice kind of texture going on so it's less rigid. Right, that's it. Thank you for watching.